Starting another section hike here on the AT. This time I'm hiking from Allen Gap in Tennessee. It's right near the border with North Carolina. You see the trailhead parking is only enough space for about 2 cars. All right, coming into the Cherokee National Forest. All right, for today's hike, we're heading up to Firescald Ridge and back. So that'll be 10 miles. That'll be 10 miles one way and 10 miles back for a total of 20 miles. Did this section back in January 2020. It was really cold, I remember. And took me almost 8 hours to hike that section. All right, so we're heading up. I remember this trail had about 4,000 feet elevation gain in this section out and back. Wasn't too bad. So this is only my second time hiking it. Remember, the only view I remember is at Firescald Ridge, which is a really remarkable view. So I'm just doing these Appalachian Trail sections over again for a second time. Good conditioning, and good to do them at different times of the year, because that was winter and it was pretty bleak as far as the views were open, but it wasn't that green. Whereas this time of year everything's grown up. It's supposed to be a pretty humid day, lower 80s. But the section shouldn't be that hard. As I remember, it was pretty easy actually, as far as AT sections go. Alright, so you just witnessed a black bear in a tree. That's always pretty cool. I wonder what the heck that bird is yelling at, but I'm sure he's yelling at me because I'm the only one out here. This is a pretty remote stretch of the AT, by the way. Last time I was here, of course, it was like 10 degrees for a high that day. It was the middle of winter, and I didn't see anybody the whole 20 miles that day either. Which I don't think I'll see anybody today, unless they're coming from the other direction at Devil's Fork Gap. But anyway, I saw that bear. I heard a loud sound in the trees, like I did 2 weeks ago on another section of the AT, and I was wondering if I was having deja vu. I thought it might be a squirrel, you know, but it was much louder than what the noise a squirrel would make. So, you know, I started looking over there, I saw something big and black in the tree. Sure enough, it was a bear. I guess I scared him towards the end. I made a little noise, and he slid down the tree about 20 feet. I hope he's all right, but he seemed to get away because I didn't see anything at the bottom of the tree. He was pretty stealthy. Once he got to the ground, didn't move with a lot of noise. But anyway, yeah, I'm hoping for a good day without rain. It's a cloudy day, so it could rain. It's been raining every day here in the southern Appalachians. It is that time of year though. It's the rainy season. And it's humid every day, so that's the only drawback to hiking in the summer. It's not the heat, it's the humidity. There's a nice wide open spot for camping. So anyway, hopefully it'll be a good hike to Firescald Ridge. Looking forward to the views. Hopefully it's not all foggy. One of the many amenities of the AT through hiker experience. I've experienced it as a section hiker. Staying at hostels. Some people are against it. I'm not against it. I mean, these people are doing a service. They should be compensated. I don't know if most people would be willing to offer up their homes to strangers, even out of charity, and offer them supplies. You know, people that come out here don't have to be out here. They choose to be out here. So I'm not one that glorifies through hiking. I think it's great if you could do it. I think section hiking is my preferred mode of travel on the AT, whether a day hike or backpacking. As I said before, I've done 7 days consecutive on the AT several times. It's on the channel if you're interested. If you're interested in watching through hikers, watch them. Doesn't bother me a bit. You gotta be realistic. There's 3 long distance trails in the country. Appalachian Trail, also known as the AT, the PCT, we call it the Pacific Crest Trail, and a CDT, Continental Divide Trail. And the AT is the shortest of the 3. And it is the hardest because of the elevation gain. Even though it's the lowest elevation trail of the 3, you top out at Clingman's Dome, the highest point, at 6,648 feet. That's on the North Carolina-Tennessee border. Whereas the PCT, Forester Pass, is 13,000 plus. The CDT, I believe it gets over 13,000 feet. But the AT, though 500 miles shorter than the PCT and about 1,000 miles shorter than the CDT, has the most elevation gain. Why? Because it was graded as a logging road. So the east always had more, was more heavily forested. So they had a lot of logging roads, and it was deforested mostly 100 years ago during the logging era, and it was graded to go up and down every gap. So there's a lot of elevation gain. The PUDs, pointless ups and downs. This is what I was talking about earlier with the PUDs, pointless ups and downs. I've had a lot of them so far, I lost count. But it's going up very steep, and then it'll go down, and then it'll go back up. That's what you get on the AT. So that's why it's got over 400,000 feet elevation gain in just under 2,200 miles. And I think the CDT has close to the same, but it's also 900 miles longer, or 1,000 miles longer. But then the PCT only has just over 300,000 feet, and it's 500 miles longer. So, but those trails are graded to be mule trains, like highways in the mountains, so they don't have as much ups and downs. Don't get me wrong, they're tough as hell though. I did a section of the CDT in Colorado, and that was tough because the altitude, that's what gets you out there. But the AT just goes up and down like a roller coaster over and over. So that's why if you romanticize about the notion of through hiking it, I don't think you fully grasp what you're getting yourself into until you get into hiking through Georgia if you start a traditional through hike, because Georgia is arguably one of the hardest states to start in. But of course, you don't have your trail legs yet unless you hike a lot before you start. That's why a lot of people do shakedown hikes on either the Foothills Trail, which is 78 miles long nearby in South Carolina in the upstate, and it goes into North Carolina for a little bit, which I've done before in 5 days. And then the Pinhoti Trail nearby is another one, Alabama, Georgia, or the Benton McKay Trail, which I've done a big section on. All right, so I've been hiking every week, working on my mileage, increasing my mileage, and my stamina, my speed, and my strength and conditioning. So I'm trying to get myself back up to 20 miles a day. I mean, I probably could have done it at the outset of this goal several weeks ago, but I wanted to build my way up, so I didn't overdo it. Let's have a look at an AT trail shelter. This is the Little Laurel shelter. Never had the privilege of staying the night here, but I took a break here when I was here last. And this is the way most of the shelters are on the AT, open face. They usually sleep about 4 to 6 people, I'd say 4 people comfortably. And they have a picnic bench. They have ropes tied from the ceiling and the rafters to keep mice off your belongings, like your backpacks and so on. And usually there's a privy nearby, right down there. And there's usually a water source nearby. And they're usually blazed blue for a spring or a creek. There you have it. And I didn't remember them having a bear box over here, but I think they've had some problems with bears here in the past. About 100 yards away from the shelter, going north on the AT. There's the Jerry Miller Trail intersecting with the AT here, pretty close to Firescald Ridge. And the forest road is adjacent to the trail here, as I remember. I thought I remembered that correctly. Anyway, I came up Jerry Miller, what was that, 4 years ago? And that was a pretty good trip. And it snowed in November 2022. Great views up there at Baxter Peak. But I'm not going to do that now. I just want to continue on to Firescald Ridge, where there's another great view. And that'll give me my mileage too, because I'd be a little shy of the mileage I wanted to do if I go down Jerry Miller, because it's only 1.6 round trip. And this will be about 2.6 to Firescald Ridge. That's what I remember. The exposed ridgeline trail is the one I want. The weather is not bad, so that's the way I'm going. And I'll get a nice view all the way. It's a great day to be out too. Nobody else is out here. Haven't seen anybody, and I'm almost 10 miles in. And then I'll go back 10 miles. Like I said, it's very humid though. And this ridge is exposed. That's cool. Gorgeous. I had a feeling that these guys would be out. That's a timber rattler. I almost walked into him. Getting a little careless. He's pretty still, as they usually are, until stirred up or warmed up. Now it's getting sunny, so he's going to get warmed up, so I don't want to stir him up. But it's always cool to see one, just not up close and personal. Alright, I left that rattler, but I waited a while. Must have waited the better part of 10 minutes because I heard some voices coming towards my direction. So I decided to wait and see if they were going to make it that way. And sure enough, 3 older guys came up, and I wanted to let them know that the rattlesnake was there. I didn't want them to walk into him like I almost did. Sometimes I have a habit of looking right down, not looking ahead, so that's my bad. But I had a feeling that they'd be out, especially there on the rocks. And sure enough, I did get to see one. And usually where there's one, there's more. But I gave them a warning. And the guy was doing a great thing for hikers because he was he had white paint and he was blazing the rocks. So he said he has to do it every 3 years. Interestingly enough, he's also from Asheville, or the 3 of them were. So, but yeah, I hiked a little bit with them, and then they stopped and took a break, so I moved on. He offered me a ride back to my car at Allen Gap, but I didn't want to cheat, even though it was a nice offer. I'm trying to get my mileage in. Like I said, I'm shy of by a mile because the half mile I didn't hike to the spot I was at before. So I'm gonna have 19 miles today. Anyway, just word of warning, summertime, snakes are out. Be looking ahead, be looking down, because they're well camouflaged. The rattlesnakes and the copperheads here in the southern Appalachian Mountains. Out west they have more aggressive snakes to worry about, so I don't know how far I'm going to go out there, but I'll be looking for them.